Shabbat Shalom. So this week is Parshat Va'era, and it begins with God giving a message to Moshe that he is supposed to go and deliver to the Israelites, to the Jewish people who are working and suffering as slaves. And this message is kind of the ideal, most incredible message that the Jewish people could ever hope for in this moment. Right? Here's the message that God is sending through Moshe, that they're being told that they're going to be taken out of slavery, they're going to be a free people, and they're going to be taken by God to the promised land. Like, they must have been dreaming about such a message for years and years and just hoping that one day their suffering would end. And here's someone coming to tell them that it will. And yet, even with this idyllic message, Moshe reports back to God that the people didn't listen to him. They were not able to receive the message. They rejected him. And the question is why? Why didn't they listen to him when he had such a beautiful message to give them? And so Moshe himself tries to interpret what happened, and he tells God, well, they didn't listen to me because ani aral sfatayim. I have a challenge with my speech, and my challenge of speech is what caused them to shut off and to not listen to what I had to tell them. But the Torah actually gives a different explanation and doesn't accept that it was about Moshe, but rather it was about the state of what the Jewish people were going through. And in chapter 6, verse 10, it says, the reason why they didn't listen was mikotzer ruach u'me'avodah kasha, that their spirits were broken. They were suffering so much from this hard work that they couldn't listen to the message. And the word kotzer ruach, kotzer literally means short. So it's like their spirits were short and their energy was short. They were short on energy, which to me sounds like emotional exhaustion. They were so drained from everything they had been through for so many years. And that phrase in this moment right now really hits home. It really resonates with me. I feel like for the last, 6 years, maybe more than that, we have had to deal with one very difficult thing after another as a people, as a human race. And all of these things that we've had to go through bring me back to this moment. I remember, I don't know how long ago, I think I was a teenager, when I was swimming in an ocean and there were just a lot of waves. And I remember I was really struggling to keep swimming. And I had a moment where I felt in a panic, where I was like, I don't have the energy to keep swimming to get back to shore. These waves keep coming one after another. And I am paddling and I'm running out of energy. I'm kotzer ruach. And I feel like here we're talking about that on an emotional plane, maybe also for some people a physical plane, maybe for some people also a financial plane, that we've been just trying to keep going and figure out, what do I do next? Now this next wave is coming. What do I do next? Now this next wave is coming. And we've been trying to figure out, okay, how do I pivot my life right now? How do I survive right now? What do I need to do to help other people in this moment who are suffering more than I am? And how do I find resilience in the midst of everything that's going on? And so here, I love that the Torah says to us, yeah, there are experiences in life, there are moments, and perhaps we're entering into a moment like that right now. Perhaps some of us already feel like we're in that moment again, or we're still in that moment. That feels like just emotionally exhausting. We've been working so hard. And the Torah highlights, be careful, because in those moments, it can be really hard to hear any good news that's coming your way. And if someone's coming and wanting to share with you something positive, it might be emotionally difficult to receive it. It makes me think of something we do in my house sometimes, which is that I try to ask my family members to share what we call prachim and kotzim, flowers and roses. And sometimes I have people in my house who will say, no, today I only have kotzim, I only have thorns, I only have hard things to share. And we try to push and say, well, every day let's try to find a parach. Let's try to find a good flower something positive. It can be tiny, but something good that comes. Because if we just are in the place of thorns, that emotional exhaustion might close our ears and close our eyes to seeing the small bits of good news that are here and there. So for the Shabbat, I want to kind of focus on this piece of the Parsha that reminds us to keep those ears and eyes open even as we're going through times of emotional exhaustion, so that we don't reject a message like the one that Moshe had to bring. And there could be different ways that we approach that. One way could be to acknowledge the fact that we're so exhausted if we're feeling that way, and to try to find spaces for ourselves to rest our emotions, to rest from the news, to find people who will be supportive of us or uplift us, or just to, immerse ourselves in whatever brings us nourishment and spiritual uplift. And we can do that over Shabbat if we'd like. And the other piece is just to have an awareness that this can happen, right? That this dynamic exists of closing out those little tidbits of good because of everything that we've gone through and all the hardship. And reminding ourselves to seek it out, not to close off to it, to see if there's pieces that we can find. And maybe over the Shabbat, we can each be more aware of any tidbits of good news that we might hear or we might notice in our atmosphere, in our community, or somewhere nearby, and pay attention to them and give them their space and their respect, and allow them to give us a little more energy as we dive into whatever next wave is coming, and maybe they can carry us through and help us to continue to have the energy to endure, so that our ruach, so that our spirit is huge, is expansive, is big, is open, and is limitless. Shabbat Shalom.